Good morning, everyone. Hi, how are you this wonderful, wonderful Monday morning? I'm Cheryl Carr, your work doctor, and this is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. If you're not already following me on Facebook, please make sure you go do that. And if you're not following me on YouTube, please make sure you go and subscribe, click that like button. Feel free to share this information with someone else you think may need it. I am enjoying a time coming off of a time of relaxation and quietness. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I wanted to start sharing with you for the month of July, since we just finished studying and learning about slow living. One of the big things about slow living that a lot of people can't quiet their minds enough to get to and to discover what works for them is because they have so much noise pollution in their lives. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how to create a practice of silence. It's something that you can do after you go through a period of time of increasing the ability to shut out the noise of the world. It's so important. I know people who live with constant noise because they can't stand silence or they can't be alone with themselves or alone in nature without creating some sort of noise. And that's so hard on the body, so hard on your mental. It's just not a good way to live for the human body, for the brain, for anything. It's so important for us to create a practice of silence. So I'm going to pull up my notes here. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. Because of the rain, a lot of things were pushed off to the 6th. So I'm going to hear firecrackers for the next 2 days. Woohoo! I don't understand buying firecrackers, and spending money to blow stuff up. But that's just me. I don't like the noise. And when my Milo was with me, he absolutely hated it. Dogs tend to not like loud noises like this, and they don't deal well with it. So I always had to um, either had to take him for boarding or place him somewhere where he didn't have to hear the noise. He just couldn't take it. I don't like it either. Even though I do love fireworks, I love watching them. I just don't like the noise that they create. So, so let's talk about the practicing silence, why it's important, and what noise pollution is. And I'm sorry, if for some reason my phone decided to do an update. It keeps doing that. Samsung, get it together. Anyway, and if you're watching the rebroadcast and you're not watching this live, please make sure you come back to my Facebook page or my YouTube. Look in the comments sections. I normally leave links, hyperlinks, so that you can go look at my notes. You can look at the information sources, because I'm big on validating what I tell you with data and science and research. I don't try to give my professional opinion or my personal opinion without having something to back it up. It's either going to come to you from the scriptures or it's going to come to you from research and science and validated sources, so that you can trust the information. And then I love to give you the ability to self-study, because I don't create dependencies with people in my practice as an IO psych or an applied psychologist. And I'm currently getting my certification for sex and relationship therapy. I've just finished doing trauma and recovery training and getting CEUs for that. So I will be able to help people, and I can give my personal opinion. I'm able to do that, but I love to back it up and to find more than one source than just myself. So let's talk about what noise pollution is. What noise pollution is, and all of us suffer from it because we are constantly around the sound of noise. And what it is, it's harmful or annoying levels of noise, as from airplanes, industry, and etc. But that does not mean volume only. It's an annoying or harmful level, which can be quantity or time spent in just noise, and no time for silence, for rebooting, for rest. Good morning, Sharon. How are you? Thanks for joining us on the live broadcast. And again, I love to tell people, if you're watching the rebroadcast, it's the same thing. You can just back it up and listen to it. I try to give information and hyperlinks so that you can follow along and go back and self-study and self-coach. But I just gave the definition for noise pollution. And I think the reason why we have become so accepting of noise is because few of us practice silence, and even fewer of us know how to be quiet. Now, I'm a talker, I'm a communicator, I'm a creative communicator. I love to communicate, but I've had to learn. It started about, I would say, 16, 17 years ago that I learned about being loquacious, or it falls under lasciviousness and lack of self-control. And it can also be a trauma response, which in my case it was a trauma response to spending time where I didn't talk at all. And then when I began to speak and found my voice again, I talked too much. I think now I can be unbalanced in times of nervousness, or in times of trauma, or in times of being angry or upset. I can use too many words. But about 17, 18 years ago, I found a book by Deborah Pegasus, which was Controlling Your Tongue. And so I did that Bible study. The first time I did it, it was so life-changing for me and phenomenal for me to learn how to shut up and do it in a way that was not stifling and repressing me, but actually helping me to learn how to use my words wisely, because words are powerful. Words can create, words can tear down, words can encourage, words are everlasting. They're always out there. Once you put a word in the atmosphere, you can't pull it back. You can only apologize for it, but you can't unring the bell once you ring it. And so I began that practice. First, it began with me controlling my tongue and learning spiritually as a spiritual woman. In the word, in the Bible, it says, if you can control your tongue, you can control your whole body. And at the time, I was trying to get fit. I was trying to improve my relationships with those that I love. And I learned the power of silence. And I learned the ability to control what comes out of my mouth was powerful. And it is something that is lacking in our society right now due to social media making all of us social broadcasters, where we believe our opinion needs to be heard, written, and listened to. And there are some people that even expect you to be who they want you to be or how they want you to be, because they have the power of typing. They're keyboard gangsters, I call them. Sit behind that keyboard, write all of their theories and opinions that are only backed up through a Google search or what they want to read. They haven't countered what they read with a countering opinion so that you can think and decide what's really true or what's really trying to influence you. But I got off on a tangent here about controlling the tongue. That was the first thing I did. Was I went through a period of time of silence and only speaking when I needed to. The second wave of that, the next year when I went through this Bible study and checked in on how I was doing, I actually began a practice of cutting my words in half. You want to talk about some hard things to do? To think about what you say in such a way that you just say it. You don't spend a whole lot of time couching it and sugarcoating it, and you can be direct. Because I learned in the Bible, God says what he means. He never really ever, I didn't find in the Bible a time where God tells us to try something out. Just try it out, see if it works. He tells us to be. He tells us to do. He tells us exactly what he means. And since we're to imitate Christ as Christ followers, and if you're a person who wants to be disciplined and have self-control and exercise in the fruits of the Spirit, which are all self-control related, gentleness is related to self-control. All of those things start with self-awareness, self-control. So being able to cut your words in half. And then the third year, I was ready to practice silence. And I can tell you, it is difficult. It is difficult to begin these things. And that's why I said I'll leave some hyperlinks and things for you to self-study. And I also want to encourage both male and female. It's not one gender. That research that says women use twice as many words as men has been debunked as invalidated research, that men and women typically use about the same amount of words. It's a little less for women in the real validated research. And as we're dealing with a society where the male gender is under attack, female gender is under attack, our roles and behaviors are under attack and being diluted, you'll find a lot of effeminate men who talk too much too. They don't know how to cut their words in half. They don't practice silence. And when they say something, they say it in such a way that it's not encouraging, uplifting, or edifying. It's just meant to tear someone down. And that's not good use of words. Remember I said you can't unring words once you say them? They're out there. You can either apologize or let them die. Because there's a scripture that says a fire grows the more wood you place on it. It's a proverb. And if you want a fire to die down, you take the wood off of it. Don't throw gasoline on it. Don't throw more wood on the fire. It'll die down. That's a good principle when it comes to the mouth. Because everybody's imperfect. I'm imperfect. I get angry. This mouth can be a shotgun. And if I'm in a moment of anger or something stressing me, my mouth can fire off. What I've learned is to be quiet. Be quiet. Realize that there I can be safe and measure my words. But if I just keep going with the emotion, I'm going to end up somewhere I don't want to be. I don't like to argue. I don't like fussing. Man, I tell you, having my brother live here has opened up that part of me again that's been quiet for years because it's just been me and my dog. But when you have another individual, a person with their own opinions, their own behaviors in the room or the home with you, oh my God. And especially if it's a younger sibling and you're used to being the older sibling, have to really be very cautious. I've had to apologize to him a lot. And he's apologized to me too, because he's a little hard-headed and a little bit selfish and spoiled. But we did that. He's the baby. So we did that to him. Anyway, back to teaching you about silence. And I gave you some backfill, made sure you knew what noise pollution was. And now we're going to talk about how to create a practice of silence. And I think it's important to know you can do this incrementally. You can do this, first of all, as you just discover and get some self-awareness. And it's a good idea to talk to the people around you and ask them this question, which I had to do 16 years ago. At the time I was married. And I remember asking, do I talk too much? A resounding yes. As most men say to women, they say, but women talk through their emotions, which are illogical and hard to follow. And men talk through their logic to get to their emotions. Women talk through our emotions and we listen with our emotions to get to information and logic. So that's why we have a tendency to use more words, but it's not significantly more than men use. So that's one thing. I hope that I can give you some truth about that, and that people will stop telling themselves women talk more than men. No, we don't. It's so small. It's just women tend to over communicate with a man because we don't control our tongue, and we don't realize men listen to logic to get to their emotions. Men have emotions. They have feelings just like anybody else. They're human, but they go through their logic to get to their emotions, whereas women go through our emotions to get to our logic and information. It's true. You can research it, and I'll put the hyperlinks. Like I said, I'll make sure you have some good data and research information to counteract popular teaching and over out of context scripture use that is to control and to tell you you're wrong for being who you are and your gender. And there's nothing wrong with emotions. There's nothing wrong with being emotional. And being able to articulate that is a good skill to have, and it requires practice. So let's talk about creating a practice of silence and the benefits of it. Now, it seems sophisticated to do because a lot of other religions and a lot of yoga and super spiritual people talk about meditation and silence. I practice it as a Christian, as a believer. And I use it to meditate on scripture, to shut out the world and the noise of the world and the influence of the world and push of the world, to try and get to a place of peace, balance, harmony, awareness, and gratitude. Silence can help you do all of that. When you first start to practice silence, the outside noise is going to slowly dissipate and disappear. As you become conscientious of the noise pollution around you, which I've taught several times, turn off TVs, shut off your phone. What did we do before phones? People are like, no, people have to be able to reach me. No, they don't. I know it sounds harsh, but if people are sick and in the hospital and need to reach you, or you're a doctor or a neurosurgeon or an EMT or a policeman or somebody that is life or death, if you're not able to be reached, that I can give you. But even then, you still need times of silence. So, yes, you can turn your phone off. If they're sick, they'll be sick when you're done having silence. If they die, they're going to be dead regardless. You have to take care of yourself. And as you begin to have a practice of silence, you can do it incrementally, and you will find the more you do it, the quieter the world will get. And the more your own thinking, brain, personality, true personality, not the personality that's subdued by the world, but who you really are is going to come to the surface. And then you can really deal with some things. If there's some problems or issues, then you can really deal with some things. But let's begin with how your wandering mind can be silenced in silence, and how the world will quiet down, how noise pollution will stop. It will dissipate as you begin a practice of silence. Now, when you're in the midst of practicing silence, you're going to have a lot of temptations. That's why the first thing I do is shut off my devices and make sure they're nowhere near me. Nowhere near me. So I don't look at them. I don't get tempted to turn them back on. And I don't get tempted to respond to someone. I even log off my social media sometimes. I completely log off. I've turned off notifications. That's number one thing I've done. That I see notifications when I actually have to go to my social media sites. And I also hired somebody to handle that for me, handle the posting. I do things in spurts, but it's very quick, and then I'm off. Because social media is noise pollution. Social media gives lots of people, the world, access to you. And it gives you an inundation, or it inundates you with information. All this information and people's opinions and pictures and lifestyles and in appearance, and all this stuff is coming at you constantly. And when you have social media in your home, you are opening your environment, your world, to other people. And I just don't believe all that access is good for us, not constantly and not all the time. So this is going to require some effort to actually do it, and to shut off devices, and to stop your self-importance and realize you can shut off your phone and not allow anybody to reach you for a period of time. You can do this, but it's going to take effort. It's going to take effort to notice the noise pollution around you. I have people, every time I say turn off the TV, especially at night, because your body is resting, but your brain is fully awake. Every time somebody comes on, but I can't sleep without the noise. Well, that's the problem. You shouldn't require noise to sleep. You should be able to be silent and rest. You shouldn't have to require noise. If that's a requirement for you, that's an issue. And yes, there's white noise, people that have ringing or tinnitus in their ears. But how about exert the effort to get that treated? There are treatments for that. So anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent again. It's going to require effort and discipline. And it's probably going to be one of the most challenging things you'll ever do. It took me that full year to understand how to control my tongue and to not talk so much. A full year of being committed to it, being committed to just shutting up. Everybody doesn't need your opinion. And to get committed to the next level, which is cut your words in half. Don't say so much. Don't post every day. Don't be out there every day with your opinion. Don't address everything. I go through periods of time where I'll address things in my groups and do things, and I'll go through periods of times where nothing. Those are the times I'm reducing my noise pollution and limiting access to me. Now, let's be clear. I'm not talking to you about locking yourself away 24/7 and being this weirdo who doesn't speak, doesn't communicate, and always silent. And so that's a prideful way and a prideful behavior. That's not humble. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is the ability to silence the world and make sure your inside world is in balance so that what comes out of your mouth is good and under control and not prone to anger and outbursts and violence and dominating people, hurting people. Oh my goodness, this is so important. Now, let's talk about how to build simple and practical ways to introduce and build constructive silence into your daily routine in your overloaded life. Because I can hear you out there thinking, those of you watching this rebroadcast, Sharon, thank you for hanging with me, watching this broadcast. I can hear you say, I don't have time for this. You don't. Make time. You don't have time. You have to make the time to build constructive silence into your life. Your brain needs it. Your body needs it. Your emotions need it. Your soul needs it. The people you love need it. It's just going to make you better. So, first thing that you can do, and you can do this either, I like to do it first thing in the morning. This is how I incorporate silence into my daily living, is I have quiet time. And that's where you disconnect from all sorts of external noise for a certain duration every day. This way you're mindfully limiting distractions and you can simply observe silence. You can start to get to know your brain, how you think, what's going on without all this pressure externally. You're going to start to hear yourself again. And if you're a person of prayer, you're going to start to hear God again. A lot of us can't hear God because we're too busy listening to our favorite preacher, or we're too busy listening to TV or a movie or someone else's opinion. We don't know how to take that and be a person of discipline and study to show ourselves approved and to sit in silence and let God speak. And most of us don't even believe prayer is two-way. Prayer is not all what's coming out of your mouth. Prayer is just as important to listen and be quiet and let him speak. It's just as important for you to do two-way communication. So the first thing that you can do to begin a practice of silence, if you want to decrease the words you use and how you speak, if you want to limit noise pollution, if you want to be conscientious of how the power of your words is being used with those that you love, start out by intentionally disconnecting from all external noise. That's the TV, that's your phone, that's your tablet, your computer, your emails, people in your home. Find someplace. I don't care if it's your closet. Find some place that you can go and be completely silent. For some, it's the shower. It could be that shower, that moment you have a privacy in the bathroom, in the toilet, where you practice silence. But many of us bring so much stuff in there. People have TVs and radios and their phones in the shower. It's just incredible to me when I start helping people to get some peace in their lives, in their life, and to help them overcome some emotional trauma or something. This is a good go-to, and that's to begin to silence the world, silence your distractions, distractors, people speaking into you. You've got to put up a boundary. And yes, this is so true, Sharon. And the sad part about it is we have to convince people this is true. There are some people that fight this tooth and nail, especially that TV thing. I still don't understand why people think playing your TV and movies and talk shows and TV shows is a good thing for your brain, and why they don't accept your body's resting, but your brain's still alert. It's still awake. It's still awake. And it's assimilating that stuff you got playing in the background. So, noise pollution, you know what it is now. 2, you know the importance of words, and you know the importance of silence, that it brings harmony and gratefulness and joy and happiness and all kinds of things that silence can bring into an overloaded life. If you're noticing noise is just a constant around you, having a practice of silence the first part of your day can be that small part where you allow your brain to snatch back and put up a boundary, and you give your brain something that it needs, which is just alone with you time. So disconnect all devices, all noise, no TV, no music, not even worship music. Some of us use that as a barrier between us and God sometimes. Yes, we need praise and worship. Yes, praise is a weapon. I believe all of that. Dance is a weapon. I love to dance. So I believe all of that. I also believe this to be as true for us, is that many of us talk to God, but we don't listen. We don't have silent times where he can speak to us. And yes, this can reveal some mental illness. This can trigger some things for some people. And remember, I said, this is not for you to become some weirdo 24/7, never speak, super silent, super spiritual, spooky spiritual person. That's not what I'm talking about. These are practical life skills and tips to help you be a healthier, happier you. And I know they work. And in the stressed out world where many of us are experiencing so much emotional and mental upheaval, and we're lacking a place of peace and stability and assuredness and things that we just need as human beings, this is a good way to implement some of those things in your life. Turn it off, turn off the noise, sit in silence, and just do it for a brief amount of time until you work up the discipline. I can go days in silence. Now, it's very hard to do now with my brother living with me, but I still find ways to get my silence in because we're very different people. He likes noise. He likes being around people and being very social and things like that. And his job is very, very social. And so is mine. You know, I work with people. So anyway, my point is this can be done with effort and discipline. This can be done if you decide this is something you need and you would like to try. Let's start out this week. We'll talk more about it next week. The whole month of July, we're going to be talking about the practice of silence, the discipline and the practice of silence, and about shutting out noise pollution, cleaning our lives and our ears up of noise pollution, getting back in touch with how we think and how we feel, and allowing access to our ears, our thinking with God. Practicing in prayer, practicing silence and prayer is so important. So important. You can't do all the talking and call it prayer. Prayer is two-way communication. Let God speak to you. And I'm not talking about audible voices. No, don't take this further than what I'm teaching. I'm not talking about audible voices. I'm not telling you to ask for audible voices, because believe you me, the enemy will comply or oblige. I'm telling you to listen to yourself. You have a voice, an external and an internal voice. This is self-control and discipline, and it takes effort. But the results are worth it. They're worth it. You'll find yourself achieving a place of peace and comfort and stability when you practice silence. So I'm going to do my best to teach you what I've learned over these last 16 years now. 16 years I've been practicing a time of silence. I've had a silent practice. I've gone days, sometimes weeks, without TV, noise, music, preaching and teaching. I may read, and at night I may play scripture or worship music, but it's pretty much silent. I've done some of my best thinking, studying, and writing during times of silence. So I love it. And that's why I want to share it with you. I love it like I love slow living. I love it like I love good self-talk. All these things that I've been teaching that are part of pandemic recovery. I'm trying to help us get back to a place of peace. So if you're watching the rebroadcast, make sure you go back to the comments section. I'm going to put some links in there. We're going to talk about how you go through that effort of and discipline of practicing silence. And then for those of you that follow me and you're part of the Achieve with Dr. C Facebook group, or you are following me on YouTube, you're going to learn about my new business venture where I will have some online courses and an app to help you. And it's going to be focused on subjects just like my Achieve with Dr. C show is. So I can't wait to share it with you. It's all in development right now. It's taken a long time, well, for a lot of reasons, but it will be something that you can be a part of. So you can do your own self-coaching, your own self-study. And I'm just your guide. I can show you where to look, but I can never tell you what to see. So I hope something was said today that encouraged you, that you are eager to begin a practice of silence, that you'll spend this week until we're together next Monday at 10 a.m. CST, right here on YouTube or Facebook Live, wherever you're catching this broadcast. And we're going to talk about the next thing you can do to help encourage a practice of silence. Turn off those devices, get some time alone, look around and see how much noise pollution you do have in your life and how you can decrease that. Take the effort and the discipline to do that. Cut your words in half. Say less. Say less. Won't kill you. Think about your words before they fly out your mouth. That's a hard one. That's one I'm still working on after 16 years. I won't say I'm the best at it. That's a real struggle area. Practice silence. The benefits are so worth it. Okay? So have a great rest of your Monday. I will talk to you guys again next week when we'll be talking about that next point 2 for practice of silence. Bye.